Good afternoon, everybody. This is Robin from Impact. And I have some good news for the three of you. You are the only organization that is in the class this week. So you guys are getting a private class. So if you have any questions, you absolutely can put them in the chat, but if you'd like to take yourself off mute and ask them, that's fine. It's just going to be me and the three of you in the class today. So welcome, everybody, to our optimizing gift acknowledgement process. What we are going to cover today, we're going to start with where to add and review your acknowledgement codes, because that's pretty important since everything hinges off the acknowledgement codes. We're also going to look at how to export the data from FIMS in the gift module so that we can create a data file to actually create our merge templates. That's kind of part of the step one. We are also going to test all of those individual merge templates as well to make sure they work before we create our master template. And then the last piece is to create the master template. So those are all of the things that we're going to cover in today's session. All right, so let's get started. So let me share my screen with the three of you. And I guess I need to make sure I'm sharing the right one. Okay. So here is my FIMS gift module. So before we kind of dive in, what I do want to let you know is what my system is so that you know as I'm doing things. I have FIMS installed on this workstation, so it's an on-premise version of FIMS. And I also,
Robin, we see just your beautiful background that is the purple and red. We don't see fins right
uh-oh.
now.
Okay. So clearly I shared the wrong one. All right, let me try this again. Let's see. Should be screen two. Can you see my FIMS now?
Yes, we can.
Perfect. Thank you. Um, yeah, so FIMS is installed is an on-premise version of FIMS. I have Microsoft Word is installed on my workstation as well. So everything is on this particular computer. And in the gift module, the code table for your gift acknowledgement codes is under File Maintenance, Donor and Gift Code Maintenance, Acknowledgement. So this is this is a user definable list, something that you would put together as you're determining what types of different thank you letters you might have. Stock gift clearly would have different text than if you were sending a thank you letter for a memorial gift. So those would definitely require separate gift acknowledgements. So this is where you would actually start the process, make sure that yours correspond to all of the different letters that you need. Now, if you go to reports at the very bottom of the report listings under FIMS code listing, you can actually print that list. So if you are in the gift, your module says gifts and pledges, and you highlight acknowledgement, and click OK and run report. Here's a document where you can actually print the codes that are in your gift acknowledgement code table. This does, as an FYI, applies to any of your code tables in FIMS and any of the modules, profiles, gifts, grants. So if you're doing any sort of coding cleanup and you want a printed copy of what you currently have in your database, this FIMS code listing report is for you. All right. So that is step one. Step two is to export your data for your data file, which is what we're going to need in order to create these individual thank you letters. So I've created on my unposted gifts, that's where I'm going to export these from today. But if you just need a data file to have some different acknowledgement codes with some different data so you can actually set up your templates, you could export them from unposted gifts. You could export them from export gift history or your gift history export. You can export them. And you could even use your test and learn database to enter some fake data with acknowledgement codes on them that you can use to create the data file. So there's a couple different ways. I am exporting mine from my unposted gift tab. If you notice, I've created a user default view as well, and I included the acknowledgement code field. This is just a double check for me to make sure that I have all of my gift records coded. And I've also included a batch column. Wrong date. It needs to have today's date, but that's fine for what we're doing today. So I'm going to go to the processes tab. We recommend as a best practice before you do your gift acknowledgement export that you run your edit report and you review the data in your edit report. Just to make sure that you've got the right donor, you have the right gift date, maybe the right fund, the right dollar amount. So just make sure all of that information is correct before exporting for your gift acknowledgement export. And I'm going to click on Run Process. Now, this first little tab here that we have is called Acknowledgement Format. So what's going to happen is when I export this data, see where it says Update Acknowledgement Date? Right now it says Always. So if I don't make any changes here and I export my data on the little gift tab, it's going to put in the acknowledgement date for me automatically. So if somebody looks at this gift 6 months from now, they'll say, oh, the gift acknowledgement was sent on 9/28 because that's the date that's in here. And you have three choices, always, never, or when blank. And with the unposted gift acknowledgement export, the default is always because you are doing this because you actually do need a letter. So I'm going to go to my saved reports because I have created a saved report already that is going to export my data file. I have created a FIMS export folder on my C drive. So it's going to export my gift.txt file that I'm going to use for today. So I'm going to run the export. So I had 9 unposted gifts. It exported all of that information. Just as kind of an aside, if you wanted or had a need to, you can create a contact record for all of those 9 profiles that had unposted gifts, or you can mass add an affiliation code to those 9 profiles as well. So that's just an additional task that you could do from this particular window. I'm going to say okay. And it's telling me that my export is complete. All right. So now what we're going to do is we're going to make sure that we have our gift acknowledgement templates. And to do this, I'm going to go to my Windows Explorer. Now, I have a folder called FIMS Exports. Within the FIMS Exports folder, I have a separate folder for my templates for my gift thank you letters. I also have the gift.txt file, which is right here, and it's got today's date on it because that's the file that I just exported. So I have the data file that I need in order to create my templates. Now, if I go into my gift letter templates, so if you look here, I have a separate thank you letter for each one of those acknowledgement codes. And if you notice, the name of these documents is actually the acknowledgement code. I found that it just makes life much easier, especially if you have quite a few different acknowledgement codes. If the code itself and the template that goes with that code have the same name. You'll also see as we get farther through the session today, where else that it's going to come in handy having a short name. So each one of these, you're going to have to create a separate template. Now, there's two ways you can do this. You can go into Microsoft Word and create a brand new thank you template from scratch. Or you could take an existing, because a lot of folks that I talk to already have some kind of templates that they've been using. So you could take a Word document. So I'm going to use this one right here. This one is for my fundraising dinner. So I'm going to open that and I'm going to move this over so you can see it. So this is just a regular Word document. It's not a mail merge template or anything. It's just a standard Word doc. So in order to turn this into a template, if I go up to mailings, if you notice here, like insert merge field, greeting line, address block, these are all grayed out. That's because Microsoft Word has no idea that this is going to be a template. So to do this, we're going to start with select recipients. And this is where we're going to link that gift.txt file that we just exported to this Word document. So now I'm going to go down to my C drive. I'm going to go to my FIMS export. And I'm going to open gifts.txt. So now if you notice when I did that, all of a sudden these other buttons are now available to me. They're not grayed out. So I could insert a merge field now because there is a data source connected to this template. So I'm going to go ahead and save this right now so that this data file is connected to this. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through and I'm going to insert my merge fields. So for example, I'm going to replace name. I'm going to go to insert merge field and I'm going to replace the name with the actual merge field name. Oops. And then the next line that I'm going to replace is going to be, I'm going to use address 1. And then the third line is going to be my city, state, and zip. They're all in one merge field. So let me just delete this other stuff that was my placeholder. So now I have 3 merge fields that are going to pull in. Let me stop my highlighting. And now I'm going to go down to, in my letter, I already have a merge field in here called gift amount. Let me just make sure that that is the right merge field. Yep, gift amount, that's it. And then I have one other merge field and that's acknowledgement comment. So in FIMS, and let me go back, I'm gonna digress just for a minute. In FIMS, the information from the gift record is exported. The gift comment field, which is on the little gift tab, the information that's in there is exported and can be used in your merge template. And then on the acknowledgement tab, you also have an acknowledgement comment. So if there is a personalized message that you want to share with this particular donor, if you put it in the acknowledgement comment field, it gets exported and it can be imported into the thank you letter. So that's what I'm actually doing here where it says acknowledgement comment. I'm going to insert the merge field for acknowledgement comment. And what will happen is if there is not an acknowledgement comment for that particular thank you letter, it's just going to close up that empty space and there just won't be a comment. So the good thing about it is it's a good way to personalize your thank you letter, but it also keeps it as part of the permanent record. It's part of the actual gift record instead of just being possibly handwritten on the letter, and not part of the permanent record for the gift. All right, so those are the only fields that I have. So I'm going to go ahead and save this now because I've inserted my merge fields. And then what we're going to do is we are going to test this to make sure that it's working and that data is actually going to show up. So if I click on preview results, some days this works, some days it doesn't. It's not going to work today. So I'm going to go to finish and merge, edit individual documents, and I'm going to say current record. So yes, this is working. I didn't get an error message. Oop, I did miss something though. Let me close this. I missed the salutation field. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to replace that with the salutation merge field. Okay, so now I'm going to go back to finish and merge and edit individual documents, and let's look at the current record. Okay, so yes, I did not get an error message. My name and address information is populating. My salutation is populating. My gift amount is in here. And lo and behold, I do have an acknowledgement comment in this particular gift, and that's what I had in there. So that is working as well. So that's awesome. So I can close that. Now, I'm just going to save this once more to make sure I've saved all my changes. So if you have 10 different acknowledgement codes, you're going to need to pretty much go through this step 10 times to make sure that each one of your templates has all of the merge fields that are needed and that the data file is connected. And when you say merge, the data merges without giving you an error message. So all of these have to be tested individually before we can actually go to the next step of creating the master template. So once we have this created, and is there any questions on anything that we have covered so far, or maybe something I haven't covered, you're not sure if I'm going to cover? All right, you guys are quiet today. Okay. So what we're doing, the reason why this name of this class is called Optimizing Your Gift Acknowledgement Letters is so that you can export all of, I've had people tell me that, oh, we have, 10 different gift acknowledgement codes. I export the data from FIMS 10 different times, once each for whatever type of thank you letter needs to be generated. They manually open that letter, merge it, print it, and send the letter. The reason why we're optimizing this process is we are providing a way for you to be able to export all of your gift records, regardless of what type of thank you letter they need. You can export them all at once. And then what we are going to do is we're going to create what I kind of consider to be a master gift letter. And I'm going to open that. And move this over. Here it is. Okay, so essentially we're using a feature in Microsoft Word, conditional merging for if then else. So essentially what we're saying, and the reason why I highlighted this particular area in yellow is this is one piece of it. We've duplicated this section that's highlighted in yellow an additional time for each of the different acknowledgement codes that you have. So what this is saying is if the merge field for the acknowledgement code equals BIAB, which is being pulled from the gift record itself, then include the text in my C drive in the FIMS exports folder. In the gift letter templates, open the biab.docx Word doc and merge. So it's kind of like, I like to sort of think about this as like a traffic policeman, because the next statement says, okay, if the merge field acknowledgement code is DAF, here's the location of the DAF, thank you, and so on. It goes right down through the list. So I have GEN, I have HON for honorary, I have MEM for memorial, and so on. So what we're going to do is the letter that I just did, the fundraising dinner, that was a new letter. So that is not part of this. So what we're going to do is we're going to walk through how to set that first one up, that very first thing that we're looking at in yellow, because after you do the first one, you can just copy paste and update the code and the name of the letter. So it gets easier after the first one. But I'm going to put my cursor down here at the bottom, right after that last kind of right-sided bracket. And there's no, you can't put any spaces in there. It needs to be continuous. So in order to do this, we're actually going to go to mailings. First step is go to mailings, and we're going to go to rules. And under rules, there's one called if then else. That's what's going to get us that conditional merging that says, hey, if it's the acknowledgement code BIAB, and this is what that particular window looks like. So under field name, we're going to change this to acknowledgement code. And if the acknowledgement code is equal to, and in this case, my template that I just created was FRD. So I'm going to say if the acknowledgement code is FRD, insert this text. So I'm going to put 3 little X's here. Basically, that is just the placeholder for what I need. So I'm going to say, okay. And that's what I have here. That's what's started right here at the bottom. So I'm missing some of this stuff. I'm missing the location of my thank you template. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my cursor right there in the X where one of the placeholders is. And then I'm going to go to my insert menu at the top, and I'm going to go to quick parts, and I'm going to insert field. So what we're doing here is we're adding that include text piece. And under field properties is where I'm going to tell Word where that template is. So I'm going to go into my Windows Explorer, and I'm just going to click here. See how that just collapsed that down to an actual path? I'm going to copy that. I'm going to hit my Control C and copy that. And then I'm going to go back to this, and I'm going to hit Control V and paste that in. So the thing that I need to add manually is the name of the template, which is frd.docx. So what I've said here is include text and the file name, the location of the file. And then the last thing we're going to do is just uncheck this preserve formatting during updates. And I'm going to say, okay. And then this is Microsoft Word security notice. In this information box right here, this was essentially introduced. This came about in Office XP. It is a security feature basically getting you to acknowledge the fact that you are running a SQL command when you're merging the data. So if you say no here, your mail merge is actually not going to work. So I'm going to say yes. And if you look now at the very bottom, what's highlighted in gray, it now looks like the rest of them with the exception of those 3 X's. So I'm going to remove the 3 X's because those were just my placeholder X's, and I'm going to save that. Any questions on that? Does that make sense to everybody?
There are no questions in the chat, but anyone else feel free to unmute yourself at any time and ask any questions.
Yep. Did something just come through the chat?
Yes, someone said no questions for me, so I think we are good.
Perfect. All right. So what I'm going to do at this point is now I want to test this master gift letter that I just did. So if I go to mailings and finish a merge, and I'm going to be brave and I'm going to say all because I've tested all of these letters individually and I know they work one at a time. Let's just see how the master template works. So I'm going to say okay. And it's giving me my security message. Unfortunately, I have to say yes for as many letters as I have. All right, so I did not get any error messages. So all of my letters merged. Okay, I do have some spacing issues that I would have to fix if I was doing this for real and mailing these things. And everything has merged okay. The different letters look okay. So my individual templates work. My master gift letter works. So now what we need to do is put them together. So because you guys have FIMS installed on premise, you do still have the ability to use what we call an auto launch feature from within FIMS. So let me close this. And let me save this and close my master template. I'm going to go back to FIMS. And now what I'm going to do when I do my export is I'm going to go to my saved report. So if you notice, I have a non-automated gift acknowledgement export and an automated gift acknowledgement export. So I'm going to save that. The difference here is that instead of just exporting that data file to my FIMS exports folder, I've also told FIMS where my master gift letter is. So what's going to happen is it's going to export the data and it's going to auto launch my master gift letter for me. So let me go ahead and click on my run report. So here's my 9 records that were exported. I'm going to say okay. Now, this is this feature that we're looking at here. This is something that came about in February of 22, I think. So what I'm going to do is I am just going to auto launch. That's all I want to do at this point. So I'm going to say auto launch. And here is my security notice. So I'm going to say yes. And where are my letters? Here they are. Let me drag them over. So here are the letters. Here are my thank you letters. So one thing you might have noticed is that I didn't have to okay that SQL message the 9 times for each one of the letters. The nice thing about having FIMS installed on premise is that that auto launch feature, that window that popped up has that built in. So you don't have to say okay to 9 different letters because you're doing this manually. So that's definitely a bonus to using the auto launch feature. So at this point, all of my letters worked. I could print them, sign them, send them off. The next piece of this is I typically will ask people, how are you saving your thank you letters? Are you just saving them in the single Word document like we have here and putting them somewhere on your server? Are you splitting them into individual documents and putting them into the profile or fun folders on FIMS? How are you guys currently doing your thank you letters? What's the process that you're using?
In the chat, Nicole typed saving by type of letter in batches.
In batches. So are you exporting the data from FIMS for each different type of letter and merging into that letter, or are you using any of the automation that we've seen today to export that data?
No, actually, currently we pull the data out with a different program called Power BI, and then
Uh,
that creates an Excel spreadsheet for me. And then
okay.
I use it from Excel to do the merge that way instead.
Okay. Curious why you're using the Power BI to build the Excel spreadsheet, only because you technically don't need this spreadsheet. You could use the data source directly from FIMS. Is there
Uh,
something, are you
I,
editing the data in the spreadsheet before merging, or?
well, I think part of it is that I do the thank you letters, for example, and some of the fields that you've shown us are actually used by other departments for something else, for a different purpose. So this was kind of the easier way to do it based on how our finance department works and by how the fields are used. But as
Oh,
Diana's pointed out in the chat, we used to use the text files for letters and receipts, but since we started using Power BI, it kind of became a little bit easier and more manageable.
got it. So then, just curious why you guys are here today. If you found an easier method, which if based on the process that you're using, and the way the finance team and the fields and all that,
Mhm.
if it is easier, um, what what were you hoping to get from today? What can I make sure that you got from today's class?
Well, for me, I wasn't entirely certain what was going to be shown. I'm a bit newer to the organization, so I don't have the history that the other two have
Got it.
on what's been done. But I think the main reason that the three of us were sent is because we are the three admin folks in the donor engagement department. So
And you
I
wanted to
guess
make
it,
sure this was still
Yep,
what you guys were
because
doing was still the best way to do it.
sorry, um, we are actually, on my opinion, I was actually hoping that there would be like um, other ways that we could, because as what Nicole said, the acknowledgement code are being used by finance. So at the back of my head, I was thinking maybe there's other way in FIMS that we don't know that we can pull those acknowledgement letter like in a different way other than using the Power BI, because what you were showing us a while ago is what we're doing previously. Is just that the only difference is that we don't pull the letters. We do the gift edit report. We use the gift acknowledgement report for something else, not for exactly the acknowledgement letter. So for this session, like I was hoping maybe there's another way that you guys know that we don't know of. So yeah.
Let me ask you a question. So do you have the field maker module?
Sorry, what?
It's the module's called field maker. Let me just show you. So do you see in any of your modules, do you have little plus tabs by any
Yeah.
chance?
Yeah. Yes, we
Okay.
do.
So that means you actually do have the field maker module. I'm just kind of
Mm-hmm.
thinking off the cuff here, but field maker fields are also exported when the gift record. So I have what you're looking at here is a little plus tab. These are my field maker fields for unposted gifts. I'm almost
Mm.
wondering these fields are exported, in fact, because one of my letters, what I did was, let me just show you so you've got an idea here how this might work. I gotta find my stock gift. Yeah. So I have field maker fields on my gift record. Let me just pull back up that particular module and make this a little smaller. So what I did is one of my gifts has a security name,
Mm-hmm.
Facebook, and I put in the number of shares. So these are fields that are exported, and then I've used them as merge fields in the letter. If the data is being exported, I'm almost wondering if you could create a separate like acknowledgement code field, populate with the code, or you could just create whatever kind of field, a value, 1 through whatever. And then when you're doing your master gift letter, instead of using the acknowledgement code, you could say, hey, if the field maker field, the custom field maker field has this value, here's the letter, go merge it. Or if the custom field maker field has a different value, go find the other letter. So since you have that custom field maker module, you might be able to use a custom field instead of the acknowledgement code field, which the finance
Yeah.
is using for something else. So just
Yeah.
food for thought.
Mhm.
This would be another way where you could also use the auto launch, export everything all at once, and then you can also, and I've got one more piece to show you guys, is how to automatically, there's macros within Microsoft Word, FIMS macros that you can run,
Mhm.
and it will split that single letter, that single document into individual docs and put them into the profile or fun folders. So, yeah, that custom field might be the way around that and having to do the spreadsheet.
Oh, okay.
All right, so let me show you this last piece on the master gift template here. We have too many things open. All right, so the next piece of this is, if you notice at the top of my master gift, no, wrong one. Let me drag this one. So there's a header and a footer up here. And within Microsoft Word, these are actual merge fields. So you guys are going to get a handout today. In the handout, essentially what I've done is everything that I have covered step by step, I put into the handout. So if you wanted to certainly explore that whole custom field thing, everything that we've done is in here on a step-by-step process if you wanted to try that. But this is also in there, this header piece and the footer piece. What this is doing, the bottom tells FIMS or tells Word, hey, that's the end of the letter. Split the next one off. And if we look up here under view macros, there are FIMS macros, and there's 4 actually that 4 of them in here that we're going to talk about today. And the first one is save acknowledgements. So once you merged all of your thank you letters into a single Word document, and actually I'm going to do that now. Let me merge these and keep in mind my spacing is off, my pagination is off, but it'll still work. And this right here is a good reason for using that auto launch piece because I don't have to say okay 9 times. All right. So if you notice, I have the information in the header, and then I also have the information in the one that says bottom. If I go to view and macros, view macros, I have 4 macros that I could run. One of them is save acknowledgements. What this is going to do is it's going to take that single Word doc with the 9 individual letters and split them into 9 individual Word documents and put each one in the appropriate profile folder for the donor that the letter is going to. The other one, the other thing that you could do is you could save acknowledgements to the fund that the gift was given to. So it's going to do the same thing. It's going to take the single Word document, split it into 9 different Word documents, and put them into the individual fund folders. Now, the other two that you can also do, here's one. Save acknowledgements PDF. This is still going to put it into, this works the same as the save acknowledgements one. The only difference is it creates a PDF document instead of a standard Word document. And then the other one, save acknowledgements fund PDF. This puts the letter into the fund folder, but it creates a PDF document instead of a Word document. So those are the 4 options that you have. I'm going to just do your basic save acknowledgements for today. And then I'm going to click on run. Now, one thing you also have to do is you have to install the macros into your local version of Microsoft Word. I did also put instructions into that document, the handout that you're going to get on how to do that if you don't have that. You might be able to do this very easily from within tools on the menu bar. There's an option called update FIMS macros. So because of the fact that you guys have FIMS installed in your on-premise, you're hosting it yourself, you might be able to use the update FIMS macros. But I put a whole section on how to install those if this doesn't work, 2 alternate methods. All right, so let me go ahead and run this. So this is working. Now I will tell you that if you're using this macro, I tell people, especially if you have a lot of them, just walk away, don't touch your computer. Let it do its thing. Don't try to multitask and do other things because Word is kind of persnickety and it doesn't always like that if you're trying to be productive. So if I look now, let me go look at Lila Buchanan. So I'm going to go back to my FIMS. I'm going to go to my profiles folder and I'm going to find Lila Buchanan here. There she is. And on the menu bar in my toolbar section, there's a profile folder. If I click on that, here's my thank you letter that just put here for Lila Buchanan. So if I open this, it's got today's date on it. Here is the thank you letter that it was created. So now I have 9 individual letters all split into the individual folders based on the profile. So the nice thing about this is you might not necessarily need to know the path to where the batch of letters is. You just need to know which donor you want to look at a copy of the letter. So this little folder here is probably already set up in your system, but at some point somebody had to have gone into system options and told FIMS where those profile folders are. So in this case, if you look over here on the right, mine are in my C drive in an NPO folder, in a folder called profiles. So anytime, and the nice thing about that macro is if you run that macro and it creates a letter, if there's currently no folder for that profile because nothing has ever been stored yet, the macro will also automatically create the folder for me and put the letter into it. So it automates the whole process. And just kind of an FYI, there's also one for funds. So that's why I say at some point when FIMS was installed way back in the day, somebody set up some paths to both the profiles and the funds folders. All right. Let me see, let me make sure I'm not missing anything. Does anybody, you guys have any questions? Oh yeah, in the handout, I did put some tips in case you are having issues in case there's some things that pop up, like if you get a message that says unable to open the data file, it could be because your Word document is already open. So that means the data file is open, but there's some other things in here, errors that you might get, and links to knowledge base articles or tips on how to get around the errors that you're actually having. All right. Any other questions? All right. Well, you'll all get the handout and there's all kinds of good stuff in there. So, and if you guys have any questions whatsoever, don't hesitate to put in a case through the portal and just ask for me. I'll be more than happy to talk through any what ifs, or if you think you might want to try the field maker field for using this process, whatever, I'd be happy to, kind of chat about that and bounce any ideas that you might have. We do use the field makers for specific gifts, security gifts. Okay. Yep. Sure. Yeah, then you still might be able to use FieldMaker for the acknowledgement, or creating a field that has a value in it that could be used to determine what letter is being used. You don't have to use the acknowledgement code field. You could use a different field because FieldMaker fields are all exported here as well. All right. Well, thank you. And if we can be of any of assistance, certainly just let us know. So you guys have a great afternoon.
One more question just
Sure.
came through. It says, if we do have any questions, FIMS, we will send you a ticket or
Yes.
a
Yep.
link in the
Just
or like on the website.
put in a ticket in the support portal, and just put in there to send the ticket over to me. And then it'll get assigned to me and I'll get a hold of you.
Perfect. Thanks, Robin.
All righty. Well, thanks, you guys. Have a great day.